During World War II, entire armies depended on one tiny piece of equipment that could mean the difference between survival and disaster: a compass. But, what most people don't realize is that soldiers developed a backup trick so reliable it worked even when the compass froze, jammed, or was lost entirely. Long before satellites and smartphones, this field method helped pilots navigate through smoke-filled skies, commandos orient themselves behind enemy lines, and lost infantry find their way home through forests and ruins. And the remarkable thing? That same World War II compass trick still works today, anywhere on Earth, without batteries, electronics, or even a compass itself. This was navigation boiled down to pure instinct, training, and an understanding of nature. And once you know it, you'll never be lost again. Whether your GPS dies, your phone fails, or your compass needle won't move. When the compass was no longer reliable, soldiers learned to read the earth itself. In the brutal winter of 1944, Allied soldiers fighting through the Ardennes learned that cold weather could freeze more than just flesh. It could also freeze compass fluid. Many troops suddenly found their once reliable direction tools sluggish or useless. The military solution wasn't more equipment, it was knowledge. Field manuals began to include natural navigation methods, ways to orient oneself using light, land, and behavior patterns in the environment. This wasn't superstition. It was observation refined by necessity. Troops were taught to track the sun's path across the sky, note the way moss grew on shaded sides of trees, and study the shape of anthills and snowdrifts. These were clues to direction that nature provided consistently. The earth itself became the compass. The trick was learning how to read it. Even today, this technique has practical use. When your phone battery dies in a remote area or you're hiking far from civilization, natural navigation principles still work just as they did for soldiers in the 1940s. The key is to rely on predictable patterns, light, growth and movement, rather than mechanical precision. The shadow stick method was the simplest and most accurate wartime backup. The most reliable of these World War II-era methods was known as the shadow stick trick. Soldiers could perform it anywhere the sun was visible, using nothing more than a stick and the ground. Here's how it worked. A straight stick was planted upright into level ground. The tip of its shadow was marked with a stone or small object. After about 15 minutes, the new position of the shadow tip was marked again. Drawing a straight line between the 2 points gave a precise east-west line, with the first mark indicating west and the second east. A line drawn perpendicular to this would point north-south. What made this so valuable wasn't just its simplicity, it was its reliability. It didn't rely on magnetism, so it couldn't be interfered with by nearby metal, vehicles, or enemy radio gear. In field training, soldiers practiced this technique until they could set a course in minutes. Scouts, resistance fighters, and even downed pilots used it to orient themselves when standard compasses were lost or unreliable. You can still use this method today, whether you're camping, trekking, or in an emergency. All you need is sunlight and a small object to mark shadow points. Once you know which way is east and west, you can orient a map, estimate travel directions, and maintain your course with surprising accuracy. Another ingenious wartime trick involved turning almost anything metal into a working compass. The principle was simple. Magnetize a piece of steel, let it float freely, and it will align with Earth's magnetic field. Troops would take a sewing needle, rub it vigorously against a piece of silk or wool to create static friction, then stroke it in one direction along a magnet or even the side of a radio speaker. After several passes, the needle became magnetized. By balancing it on a leaf or small cork floating in still water, the needle would rotate and point north-south. This improvised compass saved countless soldiers who found themselves lost behind enemy lines. British commandos and American airmen reported using this trick when their issued compasses broke or were confiscated. In fact, intelligence agencies later issued escape kits that contained tiny magnetized needles hidden inside buttons or collar stays, proof of how effective this low-tech solution was. In a modern setting, you can still recreate this trick with a sewing needle, safety pin, or even a razor blade. Rubbing it with a magnet from headphones or a battery-powered device, then balancing it on water, produces the same result. It's a powerful example of how understanding simple physics can outlast even the most advanced technology. The most skilled WWII's navigators never relied on one trick alone. They constantly cross-checked clues, using a compass for precision and the environment for confirmation. For instance, they'd use the compass to set a course, then observe the direction of prevailing winds, river flow, or star position to ensure accuracy. In northern Europe, they noted that moss tended to grow thicker on the north side of trees. In deserts, dunes shaped by wind could indicate consistent directional patterns. What made this knowledge powerful was how it built confidence. A soldier who understood the land could still move forward when instruments failed. In the fog of war, that often meant the difference between life and death. And in today's context, it can mean the difference between panic and preparedness. If you want to train this mindset, practice it during your next outdoor excursion. Try using the shadow stick method to find direction, then compare it to your phone's compass. Learn the sun's arc in your region so you can estimate direction even on cloudy days. The goal isn't to replace technology, it's to be ready when it stops working. The soldiers of WWII lived in a world where getting lost could be fatal, and that pressure-forged habits worth preserving. They didn't just memorize tricks, they practiced them until instinct took over. Navigation wasn't about gadgets, but about awareness. They read the world like a map, noting subtle signs of orientation long before modern hikers started calling it bushcraft. For survivalists and history enthusiasts alike, these lessons are more than curiosities. They're practical. In a crisis, technology can fail. Batteries die, signals drop, and devices break. But the sun still rises in the east. Shadows still move westward. A magnetized needle will always find north. These constants were the invisible allies of every WWII. Soldier who made it home from a lost patrol, a crashed plane, or a night march in unknown territory. And they remain your allies too, if you take the time to learn and practice them. The WWII compass trick isn't just a clever footnote in military history, it's a timeless lesson in human adaptability. The same techniques that guided soldiers through snowstorms and battlefields can still guide us today through mountains, forests, or even city blackouts. The technology may have changed, but the Earth hasn't. So the next time you step into the wild, remember the soldiers who looked to the sun and shadow for direction, and found their way home. If you value these forgotten lessons of resilience and practical history, Make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor and share this video with fellow history buffs and survivalists. The old ways still work, and they might just save your life one day.